welcome to the first episode of Final.Final with Geoff Tice, a podcast about creativity, art, design, and comedy. A podcast that will be over. It'll shut it down. We will kill it the moment we have Rick Rubin on as a guest. But thank you for being here. Thank the Lord that day is not today, because we have an even better guest. You've seen her on Conan, The Late Late Show with James Corden, HBO, Netflix, Comedy Central, NPR, Audible. You can hear her on her amazing podcast, The Jackie and Laurie Show, and The Dork Forest. You've also seen her online reviewing hotel art across every mile of this beautiful country. And you can absolutely see her at Comedy Works South in Denver, Colorado, January 9th through the 11th. Get your tickets right now. Stop listening to this first episode and go buy tickets. Welcome to the show, the incredible Jackie Kashian. Thanks for being here.
You can multitask. You can listen to this on Audible. Are you using the video or are you putting this on the YouTubes?
I'll probably put it
And
on YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, and then but you can also navigate away. Go get tickets and
Just
then
open
still
another
listen
tab.
as I did it with the talking.
Yeah.
Hotel art. It's so funny about hotel art because that just started as everyone was like, well, every time you're in a new town, you should definitely do something to tell people what town you're in and then tell them that you're doing stand up there. And I was like, all right, well, what's in this hotel room? And it turns out it's weird and sometimes great art, but
Yeah.
not this day.
Not
Anyway,
today? What,
not today, sadly.
Well, I want to really get to hotel art. It is one of my favorite things on the internet. Truly, I love it so
Oh,
much.
thank you.
But since this is the first episode, I've already blown it on a few previous recordings. I do want to start every episode. The reason this podcast is called Final.Final is I start with the question: when you, Jackie Cation, are working on something, writing, comedy, anything really, when do you know it's done, or when do you think it's done? And
Oh,
or
God.
if ever, what is your thought on that?
Well, what happens, like I have 6 albums. I have 4 and a half albums. I have it's so I have the album that I did that I recorded myself in like 1998, I think it was. I burned it on my computer. I put stickers on the CDs. I put the CDs in jewel boxes. It was called Cake is Not My Downfall. I embedded a chicken recipe on it because remember it was time when there were like secret things you could embed on a CD. Um, if you can find a copy, it's probably wiped because of age, um, but the chicken recipe is probably still there. Now, most of that material is on my first album, Bread, which I decided to do, or what I have. There's no rhyme. There's no linear reason for stand-up comedy albums because there's material and then there's like I'm. Here's how I know I'm done. I tell people I'm doing a new album. Like I have told people it is December of 2024 right now. I said in 2025 I'm doing a new album. That's because I did an album in 2021. I don't want to work on this material anymore and I'm going to stop working on it eventually, so I need to definitely record it before it's lost
Yeah.
to just reels. And and so I know it's done because I have to put out, in my opinion, I have to put out an album every
Yeah.
at least 5 years, every three to
That's
five
great.
years.
So you
And
feel that the pressure of time is what says this is
that's it.
done. I feel
That's it.
like
And
it's
yeah,
it's the deadline of life. It's like, okay, I can't, because then you feel
right.
at your level too, you probably feel crazy at a certain point. You're like, okay, I gotta put something out. Something's gotta go into the
Well,
world.
and honestly, if I think about it too much, I always have 35 minutes that's ready.
Yeah.
Well, fuck that. Because I need 45 to 60, even though if you look at how bands do albums, they put out new albums with 35 minutes.
Yeah. That's
So, um, I could just put out the 35 that's done and work on the other. And so my last album, Staycation, came out in 21. And it was supposed to come out in 20, but there was the
what hap
lockdown and COVID.
what happened. Yeah, what happened? What
Gee, what
was
happened?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was also going to be called Altercation, a play on
Oh,
my last name,
yeah.
because in 2016 was the first time I did any political material because I was scared.
Oh, interesting.
And I
That's
never did political material before that because I was just angry.
yeah,
And
because I was furious. It's hard, and
and
that's
I
hard
was
to
like,
be. Yeah, it's hard.
funny.
People feel it. People really feel it when you're like, "Oh, they're just mad about this." That's all.
Right. I'm going to need some punchlines. And I thought, and the fear, weirdly enough, created more punchlines than the anger.
Yeah.
And so the next album was sort of, so that was Hero. So the next album was going to be called Altercation because of that anger and
Yep.
that because of that fear, it turned into anger. And I had had several altercations, and so I had thought about the altercations over my entire life, and so I was going to
I
do
love that.
that. And then there was this thing called COVID, and we were all home for 16 months. So I made it about that, and because I was already in a pun world, I called it Staycation because we were all home. And you, Jeff Tice, did the art for it. Very
I did.
cool.
I
It was
did. As
really
soon as
cool
you
art.
said it, the art flashed in front of my eyes. I was like, "Oh yeah, I did the
You
cover
were
for
the
that."
one.
Yeah,
And
that was a fun one.
then all so I've decided to do a trilogy now. So the
Incredible.
next one's actually going to be called Altercation
Okay, I was
because
that
it
was the
turns
next
out,
question was, are you gonna go back to the altercation stories,
yeah.
and is that what this new hour or new 35 minutes
And
feels like?
well, and the weird thing is I only made this decision in the last 3 weeks
Oh, that's great.
that it's gonna be, which means that I've got 6 months of work to reboot all of the altercation stuff that
Yep.
got pulled, and it was about 10 to 12 minutes that I didn't put on the Staycation album because it didn't really fit. So I just pulled that off of that album entirely. So I kind of have to work on it and put it on the Altercation album
Yeah.
along with a bunch of, so I have work to do. So
Yeah. Do
for
you get
the
excited about the work? Are you the type of person that
yes, I
that's in
there's
front of
part of
you and you're like, "I can't wait." Or is it like,
yes,
"God
there's
damn
part
it."
of me that wants to complain about it, but it also gives me a task, so I'm excited about it.
That's fun. Yeah.
Right, because I'm like, oh, I wonder, but it's also, so the 35 minutes that's done isn't anything to do with any, I mean, there's, you know what's done? The mother-in-law chunk, the
Mhm.
driving chunk, which actually I just wrote I wrote two new punchlines. Oh, I forgot to do that one last night. I wrote two new punchlines, one for the mother-in-law joke. I've got a new 3 minutes on mother-in-law stuff. And then I've got a great new line, which is just 35 seconds. But how great is a new line, right? So,
I was gonna say, are you gonna think about that new line and the tag you didn't do last night all day today? Is it gonna just
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
I
wait
am.
for tonight? Yeah, that's exciting.
I have two shows tonight in Michigan, and I'm like, oh, back in time. Let me just talk briefly about, because does your car, and the thing is I'm not getting the recognition. Does your car have, every time I rent a car, they're new cars, there's a
Yeah.
new thing on the dashboard that says lead vehicle is leaving. Do you have the
Oh,
lead vehicle?
no. My
It's
car's is not
just
that
one of the,
fancy.
it's another part of the driverless car, you're an idiot, that part of the car, which
Yeah.
I love because I don't like driving very much. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, yeah, do whatever, do
Let me
something
let me
because I
know.
don't want to.
Does
Yeah.
it ding at you or does it yell at you
hmm
or does it just have a
It, I think it might have a ding, but it's mostly just an LED kind of, the car in front of you is leaving. Do you want to go?
Would you like to make the choice to be a good driver today? Would you
Right.
like to?
Would you also like to move, or is there some reason that you're staying here?
Eventually, there's
That's
just going to
actually
be a
very funny.
hand that comes out of the vent and put your phone down. It's just going to grab your phone and slightly push it down
The
like a mother, just like stop being
uh,
on your phone.
the punchline is that the car clearly knows that I'm on my phone.
Yeah,
So why didn't it just text me?
yeah, that's so great. It should
Thank
the
you.
alert should pop up on your phone. Absolutely, it
Yeah,
should be a
it's
listen
yeah.
in the
That's, I
world
mean,
of
so that's the
connected experiences. We should have it be a part of our ecosystem of devices, knowing that we're driving with one hand, we're texting, and then everything important should just be on the dash. That's really just give me
Right.
that's all.
It's right. But I do think that there's an angle that I didn't imagine where it's just like just the exhausted sort of AI, voice of just popping up going, "Are did you did you want to are we going?"
Getting
And which
attitude
is
is so
right,
fun. It just
which is interesting. You would think that my husband is taken to Andy Ashcraft, who is beloved and hilarious and in almost every other part of his life, very patient. But it turns out he cannot just let me drive.
oh,
He
tough.
like he has to sit there and watch me drive. And I have when he's driving, it is for me a golden, even greater opportunity to stare
You're
deeply into my phone.
you're finally allowed to be on your phone instead of
Yes,
driving while not being allowed but still on my phone.
right. Like on one of the other albums, I used to do this bit about how the other person in the car is the hero of the driving, and my job is entirely to support this person. Everyone outside of the vehicle is wrong. This
I love
person
that
is the
so
hero who's
much.
going to get me home.
You're the hype
So
man. That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's all. So there's for someone to just constantly be going, well, you hang a left up here, and I'm like,
Oh.
yes. Turns out I do know that.
Oh boy. Yeah, we've just had a recent development in our family where my my daughter, she's 2, almost 2.5, and she sits in the back, but she wants mom to sit in the back as well. And so now my wife has been sitting in the back while I drive, and that isn't going great for her. Just like I don't know if she gets motion sickness, but my driving is worse in the back seat. And
Yeah.
my wife is the perfect hype man. She is like, "Hey, we're a team. We're doing it together." But if I hit the brakes a little too hard and then accelerate, she'll just be like, "Huh. Oh, all right. All right."
Right. Trying and the thing is and she's desperately and he is. I think we're all desperately trying not to comment
Totally. Totally.
because we're not driving. It's not right. Like when
Yeah.
he's driving and whenever somebody else is driving and you know how some you'll get too close to the person in front of you and you're like, they know, they know, they know, they know.
They feel it. They
They
feel it.
feel it.
Yeah.
He's working all of the buttons and wheels and pedals.
I'm not
So
excited about it either. We're all
no,
we're all having a bad day.
we're
The
all
one with my wife now is now I can preemptively apologize. I'll like gun it like I would if it was just me in the car, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, my bad, my bad, my bad. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
right, right, right. Where you're just like the running commentary of, I get it, I get it. Okay, it's all
Sorry,
right.
sorry. That's great. So
Yeah.
two shows tonight, and then what's the rest of your year look like before this will come out in January? But how crazy is your holiday season show wise?
This is the last. This is the last
Nice.
show of the year. This last weekend. So I have 5 shows. Did one last night. Um, it's been a crazy week because I was just in Chicago and I got home on Sunday night. Monday and Tuesday, I tried to have a relationship with my husband.
Oh,
And so we went on a little getaway. Because, by the
nice.
way, he doesn't ever get to get away. I am
Oh,
all getaway. And I was like, "You got to get out of this town and this house for just a minute." And he's like, "Yeah, I do."
he's like,
And
I
so
sure
we
do.
drove up. We drove up the coast of California, and we went to like a little Christmas town
Awesome.
where all of the lights in the world have exploded, and it was adorable and beautiful. And we
I
had
pictured Solvang. That's the place I pictured, but
we
it's
drove
yeah.
through Solvang. Last year we went to Solvang, where Santa
Yes.
also had an explosion. This place is called Cambria,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's essentially like if somebody's dad was given an unlimited budget to put up lights. And so that's what we got to see. And it was super fun. And then, you have a bread bowl with clam chowder,
Ah, it's so
you
good.
look at some elephant seals, you come home. So we did that. And sadly, there was a problem with one of the hotels. you know how, like, because I travel so much, there's hotel issues,
Yep.
and so you know that it's not the fault of the. It's sometimes there's a bad hotel, and so the power went out in the hotel
Oh no.
the last night, the second night, and then
All the
so
power was going to that guy's house with all the lights. They were they just
you would
bootlegging everything over
think.
to him.
and it didn't matter that the power went out because it was 3 in the morning.
Damn.
One would imagine we would just sleep until the light of day. But sadly, it was attached to some sort of smoke alarm.
Oh no.
45 seconds, beep. 45 seconds, beep.
Oh.
And so Andy climbs up and he takes the smoke alarm, he takes the batteries out. There's one that's hidden. So it keeps beeping. So we go to the front desk.
Oh.
The maintenance guy works, he gets off work at 3, he comes back at 7. Or the other guy does, right? The other person does. And we are in that 4 hour. And so
The
we try to sleep in the foyer of the hotel.
Oh my
And
god.
then we go to the car because it's still not working. And then, and it's a Christmas hotel. So Christmas hotel is 3 times the price of normal hotel.
Yeah.
And so you're like, please give us at least a third off of our hotel
Please get
for
us
that one night.
back to where we would have stayed if it was just a regular hotel.
Just a regular hotel. Anyone?
Did they
Nope.
do it?
No, they did
No.
not. And then gutsy stuff. They sent me a survey. That's on them.
Oh no. So
That's
you
I was
gotta
like,
you
you
gotta shut
asked.
down. Yeah.
Here you go. So sad, too bad.
You did this to yourself. Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Ha
$100 that you gave me off of what was essentially, I mean, I saved up for it. It was a $700 a night event.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, if they would have given me 250, I would have been like, little
Yeah.
chintzy, but fine. A
It woulda
hundred bucks.
the slider on the survey would have clicked up a couple notches.
Yes, yes. But $100, you're just like, whatever. We don't care if you ever come back. They are
That's
correct. We will
that's
not be
crazy.
coming back.
That's crazy. You have possibly the greatest online series that I love more than anything called Hotel Art, where you review hotel art and all the hotels that you stay in across the country. It's my favorite. It's so good because you see
You're art guy.
such I do
Yeah.
love art. You see such a range. Did that hotel have good art, or was it all like aggressively Christmas art, which sometimes can be good?
It was actually aggressively seaside art,
Oh,
because we were
nice.
seaside. It was the only thing that was Christmassy was there were throw pillows that had
Oh,
little jingle jangles on them, and it said "Merry and Bright" on them.
that's
They were
great.
essentially on the bed, and but other than that, it was just like it was a sort of is it watercolor? If it doesn't look like, I mean, it looked like
Yeah.
watercolor, but it was a ship.
Oh,
And
that
then there was
sounds
another
very
one that was,
seaside. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Everything is nautical and kind of looks like a memory. Everything is just faded on the edges and everything is kind of floating into each other and bleeding into each other. You're like, "Oh, okay. I think did you dip this in the ocean before you framed it?" Like it feels I know. That's a nice feeling.
Yes. Oh my God, a
Yeah.
lighthouse. Anyway,
Yeah.
um,
That's great.
yes.
What city has the best art you've ever seen in a hotel? Or I guess a better way to phrase that, what hotel chain that you say do you
Oh,
know has the best art?
here's what I love about my favorite thing with hotel art is almost my favorite thing with a Delta Sky Club. I like it when they make it personal, right? Like in Milwaukee, in the Hilton chain, there
Yeah.
is always and Portland, Oregon does this too. There's photos. Chicago will often do it. Whatever. Cities, sort of big cities, or maybe they're medium sized cities. Can't tell. Anyway, but I like it when they have pictures of their favorite buildings.
Oh, that's fun.
Like what they've done is they've said, you know what I love in Milwaukee is the domes. The domes essentially, when I was a child, when we were children, I believe we called it the three-breasted whore of Milwaukee, because which is a line from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But the they're geodesic. They're not geodesic domes. They're essentially giant plant where you put plants.
Oh yeah, yeah, the greenhouses.
Hothouses,
Yeah, yeah.
greenhouses, right? But they're dome shaped, and then each one, there's one that's the desert because it's in Wisconsin.
Oh,
Ooh,
nice.
the desert. There's one that's the desert. There's one that's tropical, and then the third one is seasonal. So like
Oh,
they have a Christmas one,
they get the
or they'll
throw
have
pillows in
spring.
there. They
Yes,
they get-
they're merry and bright. And so they usually do a picture of, in Milwaukee, they always do a very nice photo of the domes. They do a nice photo of the Milwaukee Art Museum, which is, it's supposed to look like a sailing ship and it's
Yep,
collapsible.
yep.
And then in New York, it's always the Empire State Building.
Got it.
Um, in Denver, it is
Yes.
often that horse out by the
Oh yeah,
airport.
Lucifer, the yeah, the blue devil horse that killed its creator. It fell on it.
Right, right,
Yeah.
and we're gonna put it up anyway?
I do
Yeah.
love, as someone who has made a lot of comedy posters in their life, there was a trend for, and I mean kind of forever, where a comic would ask me to make a show poster for X city, and then I did turn into like the tourism, more often than not. I was just like the tourism board for that city, being like, what do people know about this city? Because it's a lot of times someone coming from New York or LA going
Yep,
to a Midwest city, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. There's a spoon with a cherry on it in a park.
Minneapolis.
There we go. And I was like, yep, that's exactly it. And I was like, the amount of times, what's the other one? The big shuttlecock. There's a huge, wow, people are
Where is
screaming,
that?
but there is a big shuttlecock in one, maybe Philly, that someone's upset because it's definitely not that, but it's,
Right.
that's it.
Right, but
It's
if
just
you were to go to
iconic things.
Pittsburgh, you would just do the incline.
Mm-hmm.
You go to
Yep.
Portland, it's a bunch of bridges. I
Uh-huh.
mean, so that is in hotels around the world, they're just like, I think I was in a hotel in Venice, Italy,
Oh,
and they had paintings and pictures on the wall of canals.
that's
And I was
great.
like, or look out the window.
Yeah, or
Uh,
go outside. It would be fun if they had the domes from Milwaukee. They're like, check this out. This is
right? How cool would this be?
that would be a fun angle.
Right. They're in Milwaukee. And there is no picture of this. My favorite architectural structure in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is the biggest four-sided clock
Yeah.
in the world. I think it's bigger than Big Ben,
Whoa.
and it is what used to be called the Allen Bradley clock because
Oh,
there was a factory underneath it was the Allen Bradley
got it.
factory,
Big
but
Al.
now it is a different factory.
Yeah.
So it is called a different clock. All I know is that when I was a child, this isn't charming, but it's sort of charming. They would call it the Polish moon because of there were Milwaukee is chock full of Polish immigrants
Oh,
and German immigrants,
got it.
and also to a lesser degree Irish immigrants and Armenian immigrants. Um, Pile of whitey magoos is what you're looking
That's like
at,
factory settings on white people. That's like where they come from.
and ooh, factory settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but it's a cool old stone clock,
That's
four-sided
cool.
clock, and there's no postcards. There's no
That's not,
photos
they don't promote it at all.
at all. I was like, you're leaving money on the table here.
You
It's,
could call it
it's
the London of the Midwest. You could you could really market.
anything. You really could. There's
Yeah.
also, they also built one of those. The first one I saw was in Brooklyn, I think, where they took an old water tower and put stained glass.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
that was a photo the last time I was in Milwaukee
That's
in the
great.
air
Yeah.
in the hotel.
The last time I was in Milwaukee, it was for the Milwaukee Improv. I don't know if you've done the newer one. It's
The
massive.
one next to the Whole Foods? Yeah.
Yes, yes, which is, I think, the pitch for every comedy club. It's like, oh, is that the one next to the mall, next to the Whole Foods, next
Right.
to the Eddie
The one by
Bauer?
the Trader Joe's? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Is it near the outlet superstore complex? Yes, that's the one. Which,
I need
if you're
there to be
doing
a
those clubs, you're doing all right. You're doing great.
That is great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think my only experience in Milwaukee. Sadly, I didn't get to see the clock. I got to see, yeah, the Eddie Bauer outlet and the Improv. That's
That's
really
because you were in Brookfield. You weren't even in Milwaukee. As
see,
because
there you go.
somebody must have died because the Improv booked me. Um, and so I think it was a last minute replacement because someone either got a movie or they had COVID or they passed away.
Yeah.
And so I show up and it's the Milwaukee Improv. And I walk and I drive to Brookfield and
Yeah.
I go in and I say, "Really?" to the audience, and we all laugh. We laugh, I tell you, Jeff Tice. We laugh.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's the Improv's MO. A lot of times, like the Chicago Improv. Oh, you mean it's out in Schaumburg or somewhere 45 minutes away. I mean, that's fine. I get it.
Right,
We're here.
right,
We're not
right.
here to disparage comedy clubs that I definitely don't work, so that's fine.
Right, right. And if you want to work, the Laughing Tap is great.
Oh yeah, Laughing Tap and
That's the indie one. That's pretty great. I
Laughing
mean,
Tap is great. What's the other?
I wish they'd drop the ceiling, but they haven't asked me. Matter of fact, I told them that without being asked.
Did they do it? You said send them a.
No. You know what they did? They expanded to make it a bigger room instead.
They made it bigger. They're like, in spite of Jackie Cation, we are expanding. We're gonna actually put
we're
skylights and open them up when she's here. It's like a dome roof
we're gonna
now.
make it an outdoor venue
Yeah,
so that she can't hear any laughter.
yeah, now it's the amphitheater. And
It's actually a beautiful room, and
yeah,
I just think if it were more densely cave-like, the sound would be better for
I
me.
love that so much. Um, have you ever stolen any hotel art and or stolen any art in general? That was was there
Oh
anything
well, you
so good or bad that you were like, this is going with me?
absolutely not.
Oh, come on.
I am my father's art broker at this time. Have you seen the art
Your
that
dad is
Elliot
awesome at
Cation?
painting. I love that. I love that
You know
you
what?
also post them.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's outsider art. Maria told me that that's what it's called
It's
because he
called
was never
outsider art.
trained. Yeah, because he was
Oh,
never
got it. He didn't come up through the institutions of the
right.
art.
He's not
The,
institutionalized art,
yeah, he hasn't
and
had to deal with the gatekeepers of the art world and the gallery system. I would say he's free. He's a free artist. That sounds better to
it's
me.
it is free. The only thing he can't seem to do is an entire unicorn or horse. For some reason, if it's just the head and shoulders of the horse and it's
Yeah.
coming in from the left, he can do the horn. If
Is
he's
he
coming from
is
the
he painting
right,
a lot of unicorns? Is he attempting this a
yes,
lot? Oh, I love
he is. Weirdly enough, have you ever?
that rules.
My father's 87, right? So he's gone through several iterations of this where you like something and then everyone you know gives you that thing.
Oh yeah.
And in the 70s, he liked unicorns, like a 10-year-old girl and a pony. My father, he literally, and one of the greatest things about my elderly father is that he could give a shit if you think he's brave, if you think he's honest, if you think he's a man, if you think he's
It's the best.
the only thing he does care about is if you think he dresses poorly.
Oh,
And because the only joke that he has ever wanted me to take off an album was about how he was wearing Daisy Dukes one time.
that's so funny.
Yes.
Hey, I have one note. It's about my wardrobe from this
And
throwaway line.
he brings it up. He literally he's like, I would never own cutoffs. I would never own an unfinished seam. And I was like, you are caricature of a gay man
That's
who sleeps with so many women.
that's so great.
And
That sounds
yes,
like a side tributary of an altercation you could go down, of like, some of them are not that big, and it's my dad being upset that I mentioned he was in Daisy Dukes once. I
Right.
like
I
I
could,
like to
but
think that he's upset about the fraying of the jean shorts and not actually the jean shorts. He's upset about the
he
threads being
is.
out of
He'll wear a
place.
finished short. He'll wear a finished jean short. I saw him in shorts for the first time like 4 years ago, and I was like, wait, when I saw him in the weird, I swear to God, he was like, I don't own that outfit. And I said, why would I make that up? Who is fantasizing about their father in what was, because this is what I swear I saw was uh, a jean shirt with cut off sleeves and jean shorts that were cut offs where I could
Whoa.
see the pockets. That's
Whoa.
how tight
That's
they
how
were.
short they were.
Yeah,
And
and
denim on denim, the Leno
denim
special.
on denim.
That's
And I was
amazing.
like, and I remember asking him, where have you been in this outfit? And he said, what? I was fishing. And the punchline was, for men?
There you go.
Because that looks like a gay rave outfit. And you're gonna get some hits because you look good.
Yeah.
And I have never actually okayed any of the material with my father. The only person who gets any veto rights or line rebuttal is Andy, just
Nice.
because I have to live with him,
Yeah, yeah.
and I like him so much that he should be able to, you know,
Say yes or no to
uh,
things. Yeah.
yes, and he's always the hero, even if I've written the
Yep.
punchline that he supposedly said.
Uh-huh.
He gets the punchline.
That's great.
Uh,
I
right?
think I have
Just
that
be
same rule with my wife. I don't talk about her much, but if I do, I have a few bits about just like the idea of being married. And more often than not, I think
you
almost
give
exclusively, I've never like, my wife, look at this lady. Like that, what is even
right
that comedy?
with
It's
this
so weird.
jackass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so,
I
yeah.
don't ever understand like why you would write that and stay married.
Right.
And
Yeah.
everyone I know who writes like that is either about to get divorced or has divorced.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It
It
doesn't
was
make
like,
sense.
do you know David Feldman?
I know the
David,
name.
right? He's a big writer back in the. He wrote
Okay.
for Dennis Miller before he went nuts, and
Yeah.
then he wrote for Bill Maher before he went nuts, and then he wrote for himself, and then David
He went
Feldman went nuts.
and then he went nuts.
Uh,
Good. Okay. It's a trend.
right.
Got it. So,
It's a trend.
nice.
But David always wrote these jokes about how horrible his wife was. And I was standing next to his wife one time, and I was like, how is this okay? And she said, well, it's not actually about me. This doesn't have anything to do with me.
Oh,
And then they got divorced after
I was gonna
about
say this
30.
is about his next wife, is what's
And
gonna
then,
happen.
but yeah, David Feldman, always perfectly nice man to me. But I was, when you start looking at other people's stand up, which by the way, just so everyone knows, is none of my business.
That's so good. Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with me. You
Yeah.
want to write jokes, you want to be Dice Clay, you want to be Arj Barker, you want to be Ari Shafir, you
Yeah.
want to, whatever, Joe Rogan, you want to do whatever you do. I get to have the opinion that it isn't for me, but it really is none of my business.
That's so good.
So
Yeah. I
just so you know.
and it goes the other way too. I heard a quote the other day that made me laugh that I love. It's like, what someone thinks of me is none of my business. That's not a, yeah, I'm just out here
Yes.
minding my own business. That's it.
But the amazing thing about that is that I always think someone is thinking of me.
That's
And my favorite thing is that they aren't.
it's very
They
human.
aren't thinking
Yeah.
about me.
Don't, yeah. What's the other quote? Yeah. Don't flatter yourself. No one's thinking about you that much. And you're like, ooh, aggressive, but helpful. Actually freeing and helpful.
Brutal, but
Yeah.
very freeing. You're
It
just
is.
like, oh, right. It isn't personal because they don't care.
It's so good. Oh, that's the
It,
best.
yeah.
Awesome.
It
Well,
might be sexism and racism, but it certainly isn't personal.
that's but that is also none of my business.
Right.
Oh,
Oh my God.
that's so good. Thank you, Jackie. That's our episode. I really appreciate you doing this, hopping on.
Right.
Everyone, please go and buy tickets right now if you haven't. If you didn't at the start, buy tickets for January 9th through the 11th at Comedy Works South, the Landmark in Denver, Colorado. Come see her. She is one of the greatest of all time at stand-up comedy. I say that about no one, but she is the greatest. So go see
Thank you.
Jackie. Thanks. Anything else coming up you want to plug? Anywhere they can find you? All those fun
I
things.
my personal appearance agent is retiring, and
Oh,
so it is terrifying. But his final parting gift is to have already booked me for, I believe, 32 weeks next year.
incredible.
This year, 2025. And
Yep.
so please go to JackieCation.com or FamilyPetAncestry.com, which
Oh,
leads you to JackieCation.com.
that's
Why?
so
Why did I buy FamilyPetAncestry.com and point it towards JackieCation.com? Because it's funny.
that's
I
very
like the
funny.
idea. I like the idea of someone going, is my cat, did my cat come over on the Mayflower? Is my dog eligible to join the dogs of the American Revolution?
Yeah.
Anyway, FamilyPetAncestry.com.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We'll see you guys soon. And again, you're the greatest. You're so funny. Thanks, Jackie.